All right.
Yep.
We are rolling.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Agree to Disagree. This is the third episode on Zoom, right?
Number
Or
three.
fourth.
Yeah, number three.
Number three. We're three.
All right, number three. So here we go. So today we're going to go over some recent NFL signings. What else are we going to go over today, boys?
I actually have one interesting thing. I want to talk a little bit about NBA. I don't know if you guys want to start with this, but potentially with the NBA starting up and with a huge layoff and a lot later on, this can make the playoffs very interesting. Do you guys potentially see?
Potentially.
It's a joke. One time,
Okay.
Dean was in our dorm room, and he kept saying potentially without realizing it.
Oh, I stuttered that too so bad.
Yeah.
It was really funny.
So potentially, do you guys?
Hey, man, we all mess up in life at some point.
So for the NBA playoffs, do you guys think it's possible that, say, DeMarcus Cousins, or if we're even being hopeful, possibly, well, Kyrie Irving, I can definitely see happening, or Kevin Durant returning for the playoffs?
Well, didn't they say that Kevin Durant is not going to come back?
Yeah,
despite
Katie
being
probably can.
optimistic?
I think Kyrie definitely can.
Oh no, he had major shoulder surgery. He had like Paul George level surgery.
Yep.
It was that bad?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. From what I've heard.
I think the bigger question is not whether or not they're going to return. Bigger question is whether or not we're going to have an NBA playoffs.
Agreed.
I think, listen, if we have an NBA playoffs and these players are good to go back, yeah, of course they're going to be playing. It's the playoffs. It's going to depend on when they do it. Would the NBA consider, like, suppose this goes on until September, would the NBA still consider doing a playoff? Like, maybe even just a 4-team playoff in September?
I mean, Spencer
to
Dinwiddie
champion?
considered doing that 28 or 2014 bracket, which is not bad of an idea. But the question is, will the season continue? How long is this thing going to last? The virus and everything.
They said They said they were canceling or postponing the season for at least 30 days when they initially postponed it.
Yeah. As of
Maybe
now,
longer because the CDC came out with that 8-week.
Yeah.
As of now, I think they
down
want
on
to
that.
start. They want to start up again mid-June.
What I heard from Anthony Tolliver, a Grizzlies forward, and he came out with this quote a couple days ago, and I really agree with this. He said, if we get a playoffs or end of the regular season / playoffs, it's going to be a really bad playoffs in terms of just the entertainment and how much energy these guys have. Because, yes, they'll be rested, but think about what happens when you miss a week or multiple weeks of game action. You come back, and all of a sudden you're on minutes restrictions and you don't have the same conditioning that you had before you got hurt or you missed the time. So we're going to have all these guys come back, end up getting additional games, and they're all going to be out of shape. A lot of them are not going to be properly conditioned to run up and down the floor for 48 minutes. And with playoff-level intensity as the games that are coming right down the pike once the season resumes, I just don't know how many of these guys are going to be ready for playoff level atmosphere right at the beginning. So I don't know. I just feel like if we get a season, it won't be as great as maybe we expected preseason or at least during the regular season as we were gearing up for the playoffs.
There's also chemistry. This could mess up some teams' chemistries, like it bugs me to say this. The Clippers, they were rolling. They got the chemistry going, and now because of the stoppage, it's how will teams get back their chemistry, especially a team like this?
Yeah, for sure.
I think the MLB is facing a similar issue with them basically saying, we're going to have to do a second spring training when the season comes back. We can't just launch into the regular season.
No, guys got to get their arms warmed up and all that. There's a lot that goes into.
We're going to have to give it a couple weeks.
Right.
Like, people think of the MLB or people think of baseball as not a very physical sport. It's, especially for pitchers, it's a tough sport to play. I mean, you're throwing 90 plus miles per hour. Some starting pitchers throw 100 pitches a game. You got to get ready for that. You don't just, sit around for a few months and then throw 100 miles per hour. No, that's not how that works. And so these players they're probably going to need at least 2 weeks before they even start the regular season, if they even start the regular season. And that all being said, same thing as the NBA with the MLB. Suppose this doesn't, we're not good enough to start other things like this until August, or September. Does
not worth
the
playing.
MLB start
Yeah.
the regular season in August or September?
It's not
And
worth
just
it.
do like a
No.
60-game schedule or a 50-game schedule?
No, there's
Like,
no point.
No.
You might as well honestly just cancel the season if we're going to start in August or so, because at that point you want to keep guys healthy. You want to allow them to just continue doing what they're doing to get ready for the next season. All
what
of a
about
sudden, if you
contracts?
barge in and try and condense this 160 game season into a 60 game season, all of a sudden we might see a spike in injuries, and there's just really no reason for it.
You
What
lose
about,
more
like-
than half the
What
season.
about like contracts? Like Mookie
Well,
Betts,
that would have to work out, but
Does
that would be the
he-
difficult part of it.
does he become a free agent at the end of the season? He's the big one, I feel like. But I mean, there's tons.
Yeah.
Got
We
the
have a lot
MLB.
of
Was,
question marks.
And this just annoys me in general as a fan. I don't have a lot of success as a sports fan. I root for the Jets. And
Yeah, we can
Knicks.
see
I
the
feel
sign
that.
behind you, Jack.
Yeah,
I feel that.
I thought that at least they were gonna be contenders this year, so it was gonna be something exciting for me and Noah at least.
no. Then the coronavirus.
Yeah.
got involved.
Honestly,
Aiden, I love the Kung Fu Panda poster, by the way.
it's actually Kung Fu Panda 3.
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad.
I got it for free at a movie theater in Connecticut.
Were you seeing Kung Fu Panda?
Love that.
I was not seeing Kung Fu Panda. I was seeing I can't remember what I was seeing.
Gotcha. All right, so you want to jump into the NFL stuff?
All right, let's go into the NFL. So today, the Pats make a little bit of a signing to fill the QB room. They get Brian Hoyer, who's a little bit familiar with the system.
Very familiar.
But does this mean the Pats are tanking? Because you have Jarrett Stidham, although there are reports that the plan, according to the Patriots, is that Stidham could start. You have Cody Kessler. Are the Patriots trying to tank for T-Law, Trevor Lawrence?
No, I will
No.
say no to that. And the reason I say that is not because their roster has all this flourishing young talent or anything, but it's because Bill Belichick is, 68 now or so?
Yeah,
Old.
I think around that. He's
Right around that age. And obviously when you're 68, sort of like Greg Popovich, you want to try and win as much as you can. The Spurs, although they're nowhere near contenders, they're at least trying to win with DeRozan and Aldridge. And I think Belichick wants to try and win as much as he can now before it ends up being over. I think he understands that maybe what he was used to with the 12, 13, 14 wins per season is probably not going to happen as often. But I think he wants to run it back with Stidham or whichever quarterback ends up winning the job and try and win as much as he can while he still has the chance.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Belichick is not sitting around and trying to go into a rebuild mode. He's not going to be around for much longer, at least I think. I see him coaching at most another 3 seasons. So I think he's going to try and go for the win. And also, I'm hearing rumors like I predicted the other night. I said that Cam Newton could potentially go there. There are reports of him
I
Chargers both looking at his medical bills.
Yep.
I disagree. I agree. I think there's no way the Patriots are trying to tank right now. It's never been a thing Bill Belichick has done.
It's never in the Patriot blood.
Exactly. It
Not the
doesn't seem like the kind of thing that Belichick would even consider. If somebody said, hey, would you consider tanking? I feel like, he would fire them. He'd kick them. He'd do everything he can to never have to talk to that person again. That's just not Belichick. And you guys both pointed out, he's getting old. This team isn't, if he tanks now, he's definitely not going to be able to see the end of that tank. And the most important thing to me is that I think Brady left for the same reason as Belichick didn't re-sign Brady. Brady and Belichick have always been lumped into the same category. Everybody, the new popular news media always says, let's give all this credit to Brady for the Super Bowls. And some people,
Or you pick a side and you pick Belichick.
Some people have said, let's give it to Belichick.
Right.
Brady, despite the fact that he has most people on his side, really wants to prove it's him. He's going, so that's why he wanted to go to somewhere else to prove that he could win a Super Bowl. In the same way, Belichick wanted to say, listen, I've been the person putting these teams together. You can't win a Super Bowl with just a quarterback. Football is a team sport, not an individual sport. This isn't basketball. And so Belichick, I think, wants to prove that he can not only win a Super Bowl, but I think Belichick would love to stick it to Tom Brady and say, listen, you think you're so valuable? Watch me win a Super Bowl with Brian frickin' Hoyer or Jarrett Stidham. That would no doubt be the worst starting quarterback, either of them, be the worst starting quarterback to ever even play in a Super Bowl.
I don't know. What about the Ravens?
What?
What about who was it? Trent Dilfer?
Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, he won for the Ravens.
Pretty bad, but is he better? Is he worse than?
Yeah, but he's not Jarrett Stidham. I mean, when Jarrett Stidham was a mid-round pick who's never started a game in his NFL career.
He threw a pick six to the Jets.
Yeah,
that's
what
Jarrett Stidham did in his NFL regular season debut. He threw for like 14.
He threw a pick six to a first-team All-Pro member.
Yeah, you know what? No shame in that.
It's still the Jets. No offense.
Okay, it's still the best. It's still the best safety in the NFL.
Yeah, Marcus Williams.
Okay. Anyway, the point is, it doesn't look like the Patriots are going to be a 14-win team anymore. But yes, they're still trying to win.
Yeah. They're not going to tank. Belichick, I still think, wants to prove that he could pull it off without Tom Brady. I think.
Yes.
Even looking at the Patriots roster, I don't see this team as a tanking team. I don't think they're that bad. I could see them as a 6 to 8 win team. They have a pretty good defense. They did lose a lot this offseason, but and Brian Hoyer's still a little bit familiar with the system, but I think Belichick wants to prove himself, and this is his year to make himself hungry.
The other thing that you guys both, or Dean, you didn't say it, but Jack and Noah, you both did, and I disagreed with it, is the possibility of trading or picking up a free agent. I don't think there's any possibility the Patriots go after Cam Newton because they have 3 quarterbacks on the depth chart. 3 quarterbacks that I think Belichick believes in to an extent. And the most important thing, they don't have a lot of cap space right now. You know, to be able to get someone like Cam Newton for one season who is kind of washed up, kind of injured, is he really going to play his best? He did not play very well last season.
Yeah, that foot surgery.
You know, Jameis Winston has been another popular mention. He's going to be pretty expensive. He did just throw for 5,000 yards. I think
that would be interesting.
I think every team that hasn't gone after him yet is being stupid. That guy has like the biggest balls. You know, he threw 30 interceptions and still threw it every single play. He's incredible, but that's not the point of this.
But also, I'll say this: I heard this on the NFL. Well, not on the NFL 100, but they were using the NFL's like top 100 thing with quarterbacks. Yeah. Joe Beningo and Evan Roberts talking about this. Jameis Winston, in a way, is the gunslinger. He's the Brett Favre of our time. The only difference is Brett Favre won, so nobody criticized him.
But also, Brett Favre had a defense.
True. Not in the beginning years.
Well, the point is, we'll see what happens with New England. Dean, would you like to move on?
Yes, another pretty big trade. Darius Slay going to the Philadelphia Eagles, which will hopefully pump up their secondary. The Eagles had a struggling secondary last year and the years coming. Sidney Jones, Ronald Darby. They also lost Malcolm Jenkins to the Aiden's New Orleans Saints. I know you're happy about that reunion. But the Eagles pick up a cornerback. And I think this is a huge pickup for them. This could help them in the NFC East. This could help their secondary. But the thing is, does Darius Slay fit the Eagles, their play on defense?
Yes. So I actually think that
I'm a fan of the trade. Don't get me wrong.
I think that Darius Slay was the single most impactful offseason acquisition to any, I guess you could say, Super Bowl contending team that was already.
That is bold.
I think that if you look at the Eagles secondary and their need for cornerback, I think it actually was maybe the single biggest positional need of any really good team that's out there. I don't really look at any other team and go, they needed this position filled so badly like the Eagles needed at cornerback. You mentioned some of the names. None of those guys are 30% of what Darius Slay is.
Yeah, I agree.
True.
I mean, the guy's a 3-time Pro Bowler. One time he was an All-Pro. He's one of the best.
I don't see
top 10 cornerback.
Matt Patricia, the defensive genius that he is, would let a player like that not want to be on the team.
Because
You
the
know,
only one
that's the
Patriots.
kind of guy that you play. You pay him what he wants.
Right.
He's,
And now he's going to
he's
get
that
big
level of talented.
He's gonna get a lot of money in
He's
Philly.
did he become like the third
Highest
or
paid
fourth
cornerback.
highest paid cornerback?
Yeah,
Or
per year.
the highest paid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he became the highest paid, yeah.
Number one, jeez.
The Eagles' defense this year, I think, has a lot of questions because I believe that their D line is aging.
They did sign a nose tackle.
What? Yeah.
They did sign from someone from
I think
Pittsburgh.
the D line is aging outside of Slay, especially now with the loss of Jenkins. They don't really have anybody else in that secondary, so there's still 3 spots to target.
Yeah, no, for sure. Losing Malcolm Jenkins was tough for them.
Also,
So having Slay is that'll keep them in the race. I think that the NFC East race is going to be much more interesting this season than it was last season.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited to see what the Redskins are going to do personally. But yeah, having that, to keep Dak at bay. Well, not keep him at bay because he's not that good. But
Have a guy that can shut down Amari Cooper twice per season. That's pretty important.
That's important. That can turn, a win and a loss into 2 wins, and that could be huge.
And then you can also put him on Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, Terry McLaurin. I mean, there are some good receivers in that division, so he's definitely.
The Eagles have a pretty solid defense, but the problem is, staying healthy. And also they have another big need. It's receiver. What do they do at receiver? And I think they're going to probably draft the receiver in the first round, but this is a loaded receiver class.
But also, not even more so that, their offensive line, I believe, is also another big issue. With Jason Peters leaving, I know they have that young guy. I know they have the young guy that they're going to use to replace him, but I still haven't seen him. So I don't know how good he's going to be, especially with an injury-prone quarterback that is Carson Wentz. But also, is Jason Kelsey, did he announce, is he coming back?
Yeah, he's coming back.
Yeah, he is.
All right, so then their O-line's a little better.
They also have a Vaitai, by the way, the swing tackle who was the backup the last couple of years. He got a big deal with Detroit.
Yeah. And also, I'm not going to say the Eagles are the favorite just because in the last, 8 seasons, no NFC East team has won the division 2 years in a row.
Well, okay.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
So I feel just because of that fact, I feel like this year I'm going to go to the Cowboys. But
you went with the Cowboys last year and we're dead wrong.
And look what happened. Because of that, they don't win 2 years in a row.
Okay.
If you two are making picks right now on that, I'm going bold, and I'm saying the Redskins. Redskins take the division. They were
I like that.
Supposed to take it.
I like that.
The Redskins were the best team in the NFC East 2 seasons ago until Alex Smith went down with that broken leg. That disgusting injury. They were on pace to crush the rest of the NFC East.
They were 6-2 at one point, or 6-3,
and that's when he went down.
And they were 7-7 when he went. They were 6-6 when he went down.
No, he went down around Thanksgiving. No.
Yeah, so that would have been closer to.
Wouldn't have been 7-7.
Okay, anyway, whatever. The point is, they play well when he was there, though.
They were at the top of the East, and they have not been the same since then. Now they have a quarterback that I think they're going to plan around that is also, a good quarterback. He's a little bit better than the guys they've been trying to play instead. And I'm excited to see what they do. New coach. You got Terry McLaurin, too.
Dwayne Haskins.
Looks so good.
Can I have the number of your drug dealer?
I'm taking Philly, Jack. I know you're taking Dallas, but Philly.
We're talking about.
I'm gonna go with them Cowboys. Mike McCarthy, bro. You can't stop it.
I'm glad none of us are saying New York.
Yeah.
Don't judge, bro.
You got a pick?
I was gonna say, Jack, you do say no one goes back to back in the NFC East this year, but I'm gonna go Philadelphia. I like Philadelphia. I don't trust the Cowboys with Mike McCarthy. I want to see how this Cowboys team does in general. Philly, the NFC East is unpredictable. The NFC East is honestly up for grabs, but I would give the slight edge to Philly.
Yeah, and I will just say, you guys might think I'm crazy now for picking the Redskins, but 3 seasons ago, everyone thought I was crazy for picking the Jags to win the AFC South. 2 seasons ago, everyone thought I was crazy for picking the Rams to win the NFC West and the Bears to win the NFC North. I'm not crazy. I got these picks right.
The Jags got lucky. Andrew Luck missed the whole year, and Deshaun Watson went down. That's not winning. That's escaping.
They went 11-5 and made the AFC championship.
They were like
that's not lucky.
They were Blake Bortles away from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they were also a bad call away from the Super Bowl because Miles Jack's recovered fumble should have been a touchdown.
So there's that. All right.
There's a quick question. You know, talked about the Darius Slay trade. A lot of reports honestly coming out about Matt Patricia's character. Does this definitely reflects more now on Matt Patricia as not only as a head coach, but the type of person and personality that he has?
Yeah, for sure.
He's a Patriot through and through. What do you expect?
Well,
I mean, Belichick branch.
He can talk to people like Belichick does because he has the cachet and the reputation of Bill, but he doesn't. He was just Bill's coordinator. I mean,
at least Bill's a winner. Patricia is not even.
Bill ran the defense. What he did was what Adam Gase did for Peyton Manning. He made a nice mean cup of coffee and he told the job. And I predicted this earlier. At the end of this year, I don't even care how they finish. Matt Patricia, there's no way he keeps his job.
I'm kind of in agreement, but here's the thing. Like,
he's the number one coach in my mind. He was definitely getting fired.
Matt Patricia might be. I know McDaniels had that stint in Denver, did not do so hot, but is it time to say that Matt Patricia is the worst head coach to come out of the Belichick coaching tree?
I gotta say O'Brien.
Yeah.
O'Brien. Yes,
McDaniels.
McDaniels. At least, O'Brien drafted Deshaun Watson. O'Brien has won the past 4 of the past 5 AFC South titles.
No. Deshaun Watson won it in spite of Bill O'Brien.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yes.
But O'Brien has at the very least had success for his team. Patricia has not.
Although I'll give O'Brien credit, he did make the playoffs with Brock Osweiler.
Patricia's low.
But they escaped that one year because the Raiders didn't have Derek Carr. They were playing with Connor Cook.
Yeah, no, but still, they made the playoffs. That's my point.
Did you really think that Connor Cook-led team was going to come into Houston and beat the Texans?
I said he made the playoffs. I didn't talk about the results.
Okay.
No, I'm saying in general.
But also, I want to go back to one thing we said before. About talking about how Belichick wants to prove himself. You mentioned McDaniels. I think this year it's about him proving himself. How good of an offensive mind is he truly?
Good question.
First year without Brady.
That's a good question.
He was afraid to leave. He was afraid to leave him.
Not there yet.
Now he can't.
Well, he left before and he went to Denver.
Back in 20.
He didn't do well.
Well,
he started 6-0.
Yeah, Kyle Lawrence, and they drafted Tim Tebow.
Never mind.
Tebow.
All right, Dean, next signing, please.
Next one, and this was a little bit of kind of out of nowhere. Melvin Gordon staying in the AFC West, going to the Denver Broncos. The Broncos have now a 3-headed monster at I would kind of little bit of a stretch at running back. Phillip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon, and Rolls-Royce Freeman. But I think Freeman is the odd man out here. He has to be. And Lindsay, this is kind of because as a fantasy if you play fantasy football, of course,
this is the most
Lindsay might get limited time or have to share touches. And I know Lindsay wants to be the main guy on that team. Now Melvin Gordon's coming in.
Yeah, here's what I see. I mean, Lindsay and Royce Freeman have been doing a great job as a 2-headed monster over the past 2 seasons. Now that you have 3, there's no way you can justify keeping all 3 of them, which means Freeman or Lindsay is probably going to be gone before the season starts.
Definitely going to be Freeman.
That's what you say, but I think you can get a much, much higher – you can get much more from Lindsay.
Yes, I agree with that.
I agree.
Freeman, if you think back to the Saints in 2017 and 2018, you had Boom and Zoom. You had Kamara and Mark Ingram, one of the best tandem running backs.
They call that tandem Boom and Zoom?
Yeah, that's what they called it.
That's awesome. I love
that.
I loved it. It was great. But
I'd love to see Carlos Hyde on the Cowboys.
Well, you have it
That'd be
similarly
awesome.
to on the Saints. You have Melvin Gordon is a fast running back. He's almost similar to Alvin Kamara there in that, he'll make guys miss. He's got great balance and he will outrun everybody. And then you have Royce Freeman, who is not a slowpoke, but he can also bowl guys over. You know,
He's strong.
Royce Freeman is a big man, and he'll knock you over. Philip
Alvin-
Melvin Gordon did lose.
Well,
Philip
Freeman.
Lindsay is a lot like Alvin Kamara, I think, in that he's a smaller guy and he's really speedy. But does he fit as a good enough contrast from Melvin Gordon? I don't think so. That's what you need. That's what you need, a contrast if you have a tandem running back. So
I'm just trying to think. What do you think they'd be able to get for each guy? If they traded Lindsay, I'm thinking maybe a third rounder. I don't know about Freeman.
You could probably, if you found the right team, you could probably get a second rounder for Lindsay. Freeman.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You'd be
running backs have no trade value today.
Melvin Gordon lost a lot of
But a
value,
young
especially
running
holding
back
out.
with 2 years left on his contract.
What was his contract? What did he get?
I don't know, but he had I know he had 4 years.
Who?
Lindsay.
Oh, he got an extension just recently. It was big money.
What's Gordon's?
Oh, it's
2
only 2
years,
for
16 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was he
You
failed.
know,
He should have taken the $10 million.
I still feel like, though, Gordon holding out kind of costed him this.
Yeah.
Well, he gave Austin Eckler the opportunity
Cost
to
him.
prove he was a better player.
I mean,
Well, Eckler, I honestly think he did a great job as a pass catcher, but they really couldn't run the ball. Like their average the yards per carry was very low.
They're gonna have to find somebody who can take carries with Eckler because he's not gonna be able to do it by himself.
Yeah,
I agree.
Melvin Gordon, I think honestly, in terms of pass catching, after I'll say he's the third best after Barkley and McCaffrey. But the thing I love about him, I think him and Barkley, they're the only two guys that can catch a pass from their own 20 and take it to the house. They have that breakaway speed, unlike most running backs.
But there are some teams that could conceivably be in the market for a running back right now. I mean, one big team, we've talked about them before, the Bucks. They don't really have, a marquee guy at running back, especially not a guy that's, great at catching passes.
You can see Devontae Freeman going there.
But he's no Lindsay. So, Lindsay could wind up there. I see that as a potential spot. And you also have the Rams, just got rid of Gurley. They don't exactly have a great backup there. I don't even know who their backup is off the top of my head.
Henderson.
Is it Henderson?
And they drafted him in like the third round last year.
Exactly.
Wasn't it Malcolm Brown?
Yeah, and Malcolm Brown's the other guy. They
still have him. I thought they released him for some reason.
He was actually pretty good. I liked him.
I actually was thinking about this the other day. I think the Jets would be a great fit for Freeman to be the number 2.
Yes, I agree.
That could be interesting.
But if you could get like a
agree.
round pick, I would do it.
No, the Jets, they've always loved that guy who just rams it down your throat.
Yeah, and they haven't had
Chris Ivory. The Jets have not had a good run game since Chris Ivory, and that's the sole reason because of that. Me and my dad, we call this the running play. All the Jets do is they run it up the middle with friggin' a little guy like Matt Forte or Le'Veon Bell who can't bully his way through.
Yeah.
And they gave 1 yard every play. We call that the running play.
No, I actually like Freeman to the Jets, but it probably won't happen.
I like that.
All right, Dean. Next signing, please.
Of course. Aiden, you're gonna love this one. I think you know it's coming.
Woo!
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders to the New Orleans Saints for 2 years. The Saints get a number 2 receiver and load up.
Finally. It only took 3 years, Aiden.
All right. I'm still mad. Still to this day, I am still mad that we traded Brandon Cooks.
I'm so annoyed about that.
Imagine
Brandon Cooks could get traded again.
I've always said that. They would have had the best offense ever.
That would have been Drew Brees would have passed for 8,000 yards.
I always said that. I've always said that. No one's heard me say that.
Yeah.
No, but I'm super, super happy to hear this. The issue the Saints have had, I mean, the issue they had partially in the playoffs last year was that teams lock down. Like Michael Thomas.
Well, that's relevant.
Michael Thomas probably gets double teamed. You
can't truly lock down Michael Thomas. I mean, his Twitter is can't guard Mike. You can't guard Mike. But when you're putting double teams on him, or when he's always facing off the best corner, this happens to every number 1 team. You need a number 2 guy that's good enough to catch those balls against the second best corner, and you need to have a guy out there that's good enough so you can't have double teams. The Saints finally have that They were looking that Ted Ginn was not the answer. Keith Kirkwood was not the answer. Jared Cook kind
I
of.
like Smith, but he never worked out too much.
Yeah, I like Traquan Smith.
Yeah, Traquan Smith, he's still there. They didn't utilize him a lot last season. I think he was hurt for a bit of it.
And they had Dez for one day.
They had Dez for one day, who then tore his ACL. Dez was going to fill that
it was an Achilles. Get your facts right.
Sorry, Achilles. My bad. I remember learning that while I was on my way up to visit Ithaca, and that's always what I will associate the drive up to Ithaca with.
But I want them to also try and get Deontay Harris more involved in the offense. Maybe put him in the slot.
Oh, they will be. You saw it at the end of last season. They were using him on a lot of jet sweeps and option runs.
Yeah, he should be a slot receiver. He's that guy who can run those quick little
I
routes.
agree, but you also have to be careful that you don't use him so much that he gets, has a risk of hurting himself because he's such a dangerous return man.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, Sanders, I'm excited to see what he does to the Saints because now you can't really justify double teaming Michael Thomas because you have Emmanuel Sanders to worry about on the other side of the field.
They still have Jared Cook.
Yeah, Jared Cook.
Yeah, they still have
Jared Cook.
And they got the two-headed monster running back with Murray and Kamara.
Yeah, you still have that, and you, like you said, Deontay Harris. And I was devastated to hear that the Panthers signed Keith Kirkwood, who was one of my favorite players on the Saints. He didn't do anything last season, barely did anything 2 seasons ago when they used him, but I just loved him. He was a great guy. I think the Saints have one of the best offenses they've ever had this season.
Well, Aiden, remember, Sanders went for 160 yards or whatever against the Saints last year.
You don't need to
remind me.
6 game.
That was a great game.
Of that.
You know what also annoyed me though? I would have loved to see. I've been wanting to see this for the last 3 years. I thought there was a good chance of it happening this year potentially. I wanted to see Jimmy Graham back in a Saints uniform in, say, a tight end number 2 role. I just want to see that reunion.
It would have
happened. He's got a no trade clause.
It would have been very nice, but
yeah, I love what the Saints did. Honestly, Aiden.
Saints
like I said, Darius Slay was one of the biggest additions that I've seen. Emmanuel Sanders fits that same thing. I actually thought the Packers were going to go after him because I think they also need a number 2 receiver.
Yeah, very badly. Very badly they do.
But the Saints need just as bad, so great job.
Robbie's still on the board, but I think
Robbie Anderson's still on the board and getting teams are inquiring about him. But I heard that the asking price is pretty.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to come
much.
back to the Jets at least for 1 year.
There's a couple of good receivers still out there. Brashad Perriman's a good player as well.
Let alone receivers, there are a lot on the market. Logan Ryan, Davion Clowney, who's also asking for a lot of money. I heard 18 to 20 mil a year.
He's on drugs.
Which is
How many
nuts.
drug references are you going to make in the same episode, Jack?
That's 2 and counting.
All right, we're counting on you.
If I really cared, I would put this into Premiere and do some editing magic and put a counter up there. But
yeah,
I'm not gonna do that.
Every great man on the air needs a thing.
There's all right, yeah, but also we're probably gonna get
I already took that, so you can't have it.
15 views on this video. It's gonna be an hour and a half long. No one's gonna watch the whole thing.
Okay, next one, Dean.
Todd Gurley going back. Actually, before I get to that one, I find this next signing pretty underrated. Eric Ebron going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I actually like that.
I love that.
That is a very underrated signing right there.
I love that signing.
I am
beautiful.
So mad about that. Not because of the Steelers. I don't care that the Steelers signed him. What I'm mad about is why do teams keep letting him walk?
He's so talented.
He's talented.
With he had surgery, and they didn't want him to have the surgery, and there was some sort of medical staff Ebron falling out, and it didn't work out. The year before, it was amazing.
He proved himself.
I understand why they let him go in Detroit.
He proved himself on the Lions. He was great. Then he got signed by the Colts. He proved himself on the Colts. He was incredible last season. And now he's going to have to go and prove himself on a third team, and he's just going to not get re-signed in a couple of years.
No, I don't think he was. I disagree with you. I don't think he was great on Detroit. I thought he was a big. He was
kind of an underachiever. As the 10th overall pick, he definitely underachieved.
Yeah, he was a drop machine until him and Andrew Luck met up. That's when you saw why he was the number 10 pick.
I mean, Eric Ebron's got big fan. You have Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner, although the Steelers could look at a running back. The Steelers' defense is really good. The Steelers could be an interesting team next year.
And with Vance McDonald, I mean, those two could be the best tight end combo we have in the league, honestly, or one of the.
All right. Hey, sorry about that. Yeah, Zoom just crashed. So now there's just gonna be this awkward split right in the middle. Looks like I'm gonna have to go and edit this anyways. But we're back, and now we're talking about he brought in the Steelers. The
Eric
Steelers
Ebron.
had one of they had one of the hardest seasons. Their starting quarterback went down. Their backup quarterback wasn't good. They benched him. They lost their number one receiver. They lost their number one running back. And they still managed to almost make the playoffs. I think this season, fully healthy, especially with the additions they've made in the offseason, there could be a possibility of them winning, maybe not winning the North, but, getting that wild card spot.
Yeah, definitely. Also, did you guys see on Instagram, did you see Ben Roethlisberger and his beard?
My God.
He looks like
He's been hiding for a year.
He looks like
when was the last time he shaved? Jeez.
He looks like he's about to name a volleyball Wilson and go on.
He looks like a Neanderthal. He looks like a caveman.
I love it. Ben's ready to go.
Oh, Ben's ready. That team's ready.
The floor. He looks like Santa Claus, except it's not white.
One thing about Pittsburgh, what do you guys think they do in the first round this year?
I don't think they have a first round pick.
No, yeah, they
do.
don't.
I'm sorry. They traded
to Miami.
Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about it.
That's the one thing. That's why that's the main thing. I always say this. The teams who always draft well, that's why they're always good. The Steelers never have a bad draft. That's why they're always so good.
Well,
the trade was worth it. Mika Fitzpatrick was a huge addition to the Steelers' defense and improving secondary.
But I'm just saying, like a couple of years ago, just look at this alone. In the same year, they got T.J. Watt, Juju Smith-Schuster, and James Conner. They got 3 Pro Bowlers, 1, 2, 3.
All right, next signing, Dean.
Todd Gurley going back home to Georgia to the Atlanta Falcons, almost in Los Angeles. He goes back home, and I love Todd Gurley as a running back, but you have the arguments of him being a system running back, the offensive system mind that McVay is a system he's in, and you have Gurley, who had the arthritis on his knee. Is this Gurley's comeback season in Atlanta?
That's all dependent on his knee.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw him healthy for the first couple of years with McVay, and then all of a sudden something happened with the knee and the switch flipped, and he was never the same guy. And last year he had some good games, but then he had some games where he really didn't even get involved in the offense at all, and it was a week-to-week thing where we didn't really know what we were going to get from him. And sure, he's with another dynamic offense in Atlanta, and he has Matt Ryan and Julio and Ridley and now Hayden Hurst. But do I see him becoming the running back that he was or returning to that form? I don't. I think he's a little bit past his prime. But as a one-year guy,
I still think he could do good.
Right. Maybe he has 800 yards, 1,000 yards, something like that is a big part of that offense, and then re-signs on a multi-year deal and gets some long-term security. But for now, I think it's just a bit of a lateral move by the Falcons just to get somebody else after they cut Devontae Freeman. But I think it has the potential to have a lot of upside.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Me
But
too.
I don't think it's going to be his comeback story just because the Falcons, it all depends on Matt Ryan. And I've said this since after they've blown the Super Bowl. Ever since Kyle Shanahan left him, he has not been the same quarterback. And I have not seen the Matt Ryan of old.
Matt Ryan did deserve the MVP that season. Just going to say it.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
No. Derek Carr did.
No.
Yeah. We talked about it earlier this episode.
No.
That abysmal game against the Texans with Connor Cook.
Yeah, that doesn't mean Derek Carr deserves MVP.
Yeah, no way. He also missed the last 3 games of the year. Matt Ryan didn't.
Exactly. And we saw how bad the Raiders were without him. Anyways, we'll continue this conversation later.
After that MVP season, I always just use this as a reference to show that Matt Ryan was never the same since that. After that MVP season, Matt Ryan finished that year with 20 touchdowns and like 13 interceptions. Josh McCown, the quarterback of the 5-11 Jets, would have had a better season than him if he didn't miss the last 3 games.
Wow.
Matt Ryan has not been the same quarterback since that, and he needs to return to being that quarterback And that is the only way the Falcons are going to win.
Yeah.
And there's no excuses. They have all the weapons that he needs in order to be elite. Julio Jones, probably absolutely one of the absolute best to ever do it at wide receiver. Calvin Ridley, a great young receiver. They got Hayden Hurst now. I actually think he's going to have one of the best, second seasons. I think he's going to have – What?
Third season, Jack.
Oh, I thought it was second. All right.
No.
Well, third season. I think he's going to be a breakout player. And now Todd Gurley. They got all the weapons. He's got all the weapons they need. I do think they need a guy to play that Tevin Coleman role that they had. I do think they need that because I don't think Gurley can stay on the field.
Well, they had Smith. He played well last year. Ito Smith.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they need another – he really couldn't catch passes, could he?
He did a little bit, I think, but not too much.
Yeah, they need another pass catcher. That's my thing.
But the point is they're going to be good. I like the Falcons. And they're going to be
– they're going to compete.
Really difficult for Brady and Breeze. I mean, Matt Ryan's as good as really anyone on any given week.
Yes.
I'm a big Matt Ryan fan.
Yeah.
As the same.
Move on, Dean.
I'm gonna debate. But
Okay, fine.
The Oakland Raiders, not only do they sign Nelson Aguilar, they get, and I love this signing, linebacker Corey Littleton from the Los Angeles Rams.
Very good signing.
Very good signing. Very good signing by the Raiders.
It stuns me how little these linebackers are getting no money. Blake Martinez and Corey Littleton. Blake Martinez, I think, is the most underappreciated linebacker in the entire NFL. How he's not made a Pro Bowl stuns me. Corey Littleton, at least he's been an All-Pro once.
Corey, I think the Raiders make a great addition, especially to help their defense and that linebacker core.
He's a tackle machine.
Jeff Heath, baby.
Yeah, Jeff Heath's a big signing.
Oh my God, my man. All right, keep going.
The New York Jets build up on O-line and get Greg Van Roten, and I think they got a few other players other than Fant.
Yeah,
this is for Jack and Noah. How do you feel about the Jets, as Joe Douglas would say, building the line?
I am pretty happy, I have to say. Well, I also want to mention the Jets signed Pierre Desir today, which I called in a text to Jack last night.
That is a good signing.
An excellent addition, and
prove it right now, Noah.
What?
Prove it right now.
Okay, fine. Let me go to my text with Jack from yesterday.
Let's see that.
And I wrote the following. I said...
I texted him today. They got Desir.
I said last night, but in terms of corner, Pierre Desir from Indianapolis was cut today. He'd be a great addition.
All right, I'll give him that.
So anyway, besides him, which I really like, I think he's actually going to be the best corner on the team next year. At least on the outside.
I think Brian Poole, but he'll be the best.
Well, at least on the outside, he will.
Yeah.
But in terms of the offensive line, Joe Douglas pretty much made it clear to all fans and everybody in the organization that he was going to look for, I don't want to say bargain bins, but not the highest paid type of all perennial guys that you may think of at the top of the offensive line list.
He's going for steals.
The issue is that
he
you
did
play
that.
Moneyball in a sport in which you can't play Moneyball.
What do you say?
He's playing Moneyball in a sport that you can't play Moneyball.
Well, you can though, because what the money he would have had to use on maybe 2 offensive linemen, he's now used on like 5 of them. Plus, he has the 11th overall pick to draft a franchise left tackle.
Yeah. I think it's
which I
Andrew
like.
Thomas, Tristan Wirfs. A lot of offensive tackles.
Bargain bin types of people. I don't believe that that's a good way of building up a team. Just because.
But they're not bargain bins. They are still players that started games and have a lot of experience. They're just not guys that you may know off the top of your head.
Connor McGovern and Greg Van Roten are very good players.
Yeah, I mean those guys have all started games and been experienced players in the league before. They're just not the guys, like I said, that are every year going to the Pro Bowl or you may think of
like big
right
names.
when you think of who's the best guard or center in the league. You're not thinking of those guys, but they are experienced, steady players who aren't going to make too many mistakes and are just good at what they do and do it pretty quietly.
Hang on, I'll be right back. 1 second.
Goodbye, Jack. In the middle of the Jets segment.
I get the charger.
So that's what I really liked. I'm happy where the Jets are right now. Now I look at what the other teams in the division have done, most notably Buffalo and Miami, and those teams have really improved, especially the Dolphins. And in terms of the Bills, obviously upgrading with Stephon Diggs at receiver and doing some things defensively. But with what the Jets really needed, they've mostly covered all their bases. They've upgraded the line as we knew they were going to. They have upgraded at corner a little bit as we thought they were going to. And what Jack had said in the last episode, they really needed to upgrade a pass rusher. I thought they had a chance with guys like Vic Beasley or Dante Fowler. They missed out on both of them. But there are still some players out there. I really like Marcus Golden, who was with the Giants last year, was double-digit sacks, and I think he'd be a great fit. Now, there are others. Maybe they even make a big trade, as Jack said to me yesterday, for Yannick Ngakoue. I don't really see that happening. But there are players out there they can go get who can go after the quarterback. So hopefully that happens.
But what about the draft with guys like A.J. Apenza, Gross Matos, Curtis Weaver from Boise State? Those guys that are solid. Those guys.
They have to go offensive line. They have to.
I'm saying like maybe second round.
So I'm gonna agree. Like I said, I like the signings Joe Douglas has made. Like Aiden said, you can't play Moneyball in the sport. The Jets have done the exact opposite in the last probably 5 years. They've done anything except play Moneyball. All they've done is thrown big money at all these guys, and it never works out. Trumaine Johnson, Darrelle Revis, they gave him a big contract extension when he really didn't need it. Muhammad Wilkerson, that didn't work out. Well, that's still in question. I blame you.
Quincy Anun was another one, yeah.
What?
Quincy Anun was another one.
Yeah, he just got a broken neck. Like, you can't help that.
Well, okay.
But
I do want to see them re-sign Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, exactly. And here, I'm going to mention that again. So I like the signings they made. They've been very good. One signing, another thing I'd like to make. Sam Darnold. He's had a couple of injuries and some illnesses. You never know with him. One signing I'd like them to make to secure backup quarterback, and I think this would be interesting. I'd love them to go out and get Joe Flacco to be the backup, and especially I think he could be a good mentor.
Okay.
I want to mention that. But also in the draft, like you said, they can definitely go tackle. I want him to go O-line, but now because the Cardinals got Hopkins, I can potentially not see them because I feel the top 4 O-line tackles are going to be gone. I see them potentially going wide receiver.
CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy.
I really hope not.
Especially if Robbie Anderson is not re-signed. If you don't get Robbie, you have to go receiver. If you don't get Robbie,
no, you do not. No, you do not. No, you don't.
Who's you gonna throw the ball to?
I'm on Jack's side here. If you don't have Robbie Anderson, who
they need a number one
going? Robbie Anderson is the guy.
But I just feel like number one receivers come around more often than franchise left tackles do.
Yeah. I mean, well, also
if they're going to trade for Trent Williams, I understand that. But he's also aging, and you have a young quarterback. You'd like to pair him with a young tackle.
Yeah, no, you don't
have that combination going forward.
No. If you re-sign Robbie, then you go for the O-line. But if you don't get re-sign Robbie, you have to go receiver.
Also, this draft is deep for receivers.
Yeah, Jack, I'd honestly like to see them draft a receiver in the second round, where you're still in other years maybe getting a guy who's a first-round
You get guys like T. Higgins, Chenault.
I want them to draft
Michael Pittman.
I'm just looking at it from a realistic point. I'm looking at it. I think the Giants are probably going to go O-line. I believe now.
I disagree. Isaiah Simmons.
I don't think.
What?
They have a left tackle.
I think the Giants go.
I see them going tackle. First, I can see the Browns doing it as well. I see the Browns going tackle. I see the Cardinals going tackle, and potentially I see the. Wait, no, they're not ahead. Who else?
Okay, anyway, whatever. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys since we're on the topic of the draft right now.
Yes.
I was talking about this earlier today. So in this draft, realistically, there's 6 quarterbacks who are, I would say, good enough to be drafted in the first round. Okay. Not necessarily that all of them will, because there probably aren't 6 teams that need first-round quarterbacks. But you got Burrow, Tua, Fromm, Hurts, Love, and Herbert. How would you guys rank those 6?
I'm going to be the outsider here. I love Tua Tagovailoa. You guys
not necessarily who you think is going to pick them, but how would you what would be your order of those 6?
All right, so I guess for me it would be Tua, Burrow, Fromm. Tua, Burrow, Herbert, Fromm, Love, Hurts.
You're really going Tua over Burrow.
I love Tua. Jack knows.
Yeah,
you're gonna dislike my list then.
he's a giant Tua lover. Yeah,
I think he's gonna dislike this
Noah's
too.
gonna dislike my thing. So I'm gonna go Joe Burrow as my top. I'm actually my number 2. I'm actually gonna go Herbert as my number 2 and Tua as my number 3 because Tua he's very talented, but you're playing in Alabama. You're playing with the perfect situation, the best coach, all the best talent all around you. It's a perfect situation. NFL, you're gonna have not as talented players, not as talented coaches as Nick Saban, and the situation's gonna get a lot harder. Especially also, he's very injury prone. He's had 3 big injuries for a quarterback: hip, ankle, and shoulder. Those are 3 very important body parts that a quarterback needs. Then I would probably go Jake Fromm, Jordan Love, and I'm having a brain.
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, we haven't mentioned this one guy, and he might go first round. Jacob Eason from Washington, and the Patriots have been linked to him.
Honestly, he may be ahead of Jalen Hurts.
Is he potential?
Jacob Eason is a decent option in this draft.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's right. I forgot about it.
Jalen Hurts is not going in the first round. No.
Okay. I disagree. See, my list is Burrow number 1, clearly. I put Herbert at number 2. I don't think he got any love while he was in college, and I don't know why. My number 3 is Hurts. And I say that because Hurts is a national champion and a 2-time Heisman runner-up. You don't do on 2 different teams in 2 different systems. You don't do that by being lucky.
You got benched in the national championship game.
Yeah, in to Tua, who's also
a freshman
quarterback.
He turned out to be a stud.
Right, you got benched live on national television with the world watching, and Nick Saban saying you are not good enough.
And then he almost won the Heisman that season too. And then he went to Oklahoma and almost won the Heisman.
Big 12, looking at quarterbacks is a really bad idea.
Big 12 is good offensively, but it's a joke defensively.
Yeah, that's
those
not
quarterbacks are not playing a real defense.
I know he's got Lincoln
whatsoever.
Riley. Every quarterback Lincoln Riley touches, he turns to gold.
True.
Either way, he's my number 3. And then I have Love at 4, Fromm at 5, and Tua down at 6.
I don't know.
Who's going to prove you wrong, Aiden?
I think Tua is one of the most talented quarterbacks to come into the NFL draft in a very, very long time, which is why it's hard for me to put him down at 6. I think he's more talented than 5 of those players, but he is also the most injury prone. And I don't trust that hip.
Yeah, I don't. And there's a reason that many people don't take Alabama quarterbacks.
And there's a reason that I think he decided to enter the draft this year instead of next. He could have held out until his senior year, played one more season, but I think he was afraid he was going to get hurt again.
He didn't want to hurt his stock.
Yes, I 100% agree with that.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Dean, any more signings we'd like to talk about tonight?
I was going to do my rankings.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I completely forgot.
It's
Jordan Love number 1.
No, but he's definitely in the top 3. Number 1, Joe Burrow. Number 2, Tua. I love Tua, but I do think he's injury prone. Number 3, Jordan Love. Number 4, Justin Herbert. I love Jordan Love. No pun intended there. Jordan Love. See, here's the thing with Herbert. I like Herbert, but I feel like that the Pac-12, kind of like the Big 12, is a joke. I think he's playing on a loaded team. Jordan Love doesn't have a loaded team. He's doing all he could. The year before, he took a Utah State team into the top 25. Now they lost a coach. They lost a lot of key players on that Utah State team. A lot of some small school quarterbacks, usually smaller conference quarterbacks, are usually good quarterbacks. I'm a fan of Jordan Love's arms too. I love big arm quarterbacks that usually have success. Number 5, Jacob Eason, and number 6, Jake Fromm.
And Jalen Hurts is your 7th guy?
Yep. See, here's the thing though. I would love, and this is Jalen Hurts in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson.
As a backup?
He's a backup. If you do like a 2, like how the Saints do sometimes Hill and Breeze, I would love for the Ravens to do a 2 quarterback set.
That's interesting, but you don't take a first-round pick for that.
No, I'm not saying Hurts is a number 1 pick.
Jalen Hurts is a 3rd-round guy.
Yeah, exactly.
3rd or 4th, mid-round.
Yeah. Like what Brad Smith was for the Jets. That was a 3rd-round pick. Or like a Leon Washington.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Any more signings?
No, but I have a question also. We were talking about Winston earlier. Where do you guys think Winston goes possibly? Because there's also the Steelers that are kind of linked to him, and maybe the Steelers could be a good fit for him.
But
I want him to go to Jacksonville.
Does Winston want to go somewhere to be a backup? I don't think so.
I feel like, but
I want
Winston's
him to
not going to get a
Jacksonville
starting
go.
spot anywhere he goes.
XFL Guardians.
No.
Yes. Let's go,
No,
Guardians.
he should go to the Jaguars. He should stay in Florida. He should win the job over Gardner Minshew. He's a better quarterback than Gardner Minshew. And he should be the guy that leads that franchise forward. They don't have a quarterback, and Gardner Minshew, as much as he is likable and interesting and funny and all the rest of it, he's not a franchise quarterback. I'm
I
sorry.
agree with that. But
I agree with
I would have to say I agree. I think he should stay in Florida, but I think he should go to the Dolphins. Give him to the Dolphins, and then the Dolphins can trade that. They have the number 2, right? Trade the number 2.
Five.
Is it 5?
Dolphins at 5.
Wow, I'm stupid. Either way,
The Redskins are at 2.
you trade away the 5. If you have a quarterback, you don't need the number 5. There are not a ton of players that are worthy of a top 5 pick this year that aren't quarterbacks, and I don't think that the Dolphins necessarily need them. They could use that pick as a big trading chip if they can get their hands on a good quarterback like James.
There's at least 3. There's at least 3 guys that can go in top 5 that won't be quarterbacks.
Oh yeah, no, of course
Yeah.
there are, but
Chase Young, Jeff Okudah.
Isaiah Simmons.
I don't know how much the Dolphins need any of them. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
And a close second for Jameis, by the way, would be the LA Chargers.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Let's also do this. Let's predict. Well, I think it's like pretty simple, but like I don't know. I'm gonna give predictions of where I think each quarterback's gonna go. So Burrow, obviously Bengals. I think match made in heaven. Tua to the Dolphins. I like Herbert going to the Chargers.
Yep.
I can see Jordan Love going to the Buccaneers and being a success in a succession plan in 2 years, kind of like Favre, Rodgers, that kind of way. And he's gonna have weapons galore ready for him and Evans and Godwin when the time comes. I could see Jake Fromm going to the Patriots.
Ooh.
Late. I can see Jalen Hurts.
Oh, I know where I want Jalen Hurts to go.
I actually like what Dean said. I like that. I like that to the Ravens.
Baltimore would be so beautiful for him.
Okay, here's my bold Jalen Hurts prediction right now. He ends up in Dallas to be the.
Oh God.
No, I swear to God.
Here we go.
I think if he was in Dallas, it would entice Lincoln Riley at some point if they ever move on from McCarthy, which I think is going to happen because I don't like Mike McCarthy.
Jalen
And
Hurts
maybe
is not
Dak ends
box
up leaving.
office.
What?
He's not box office enough.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Everybody knows who Jalen Hurts is.
Okay, yeah, but here's the thing.
I would love him in Dallas. That would be great. That would be a good spot for him. I think he's going to go there.
How much more hateable could you make a player? An Alabama quarterback that can
And a Cowboy.
Cowboy.
I don't know. I just think he's going to go there. We'll see what happens, but that's
It's like,
what
no,
I'm thinking
it's
right
like
now.
one guy. He played quarterback in Dallas for one game. What's his name? Who was the guy that was supposed to play over Tom Brady? Drew Henson. Right?
Bledsoe.
No.
Bledsoe was supposed to be the second coming.
No, in college.
First overall pick.
Oh, I don't know.
Incredible.
I don't know. There was like, he played for the Yankees and he played for the Cowboys.
Oh.
That makes you the most hated.
If he doesn't go to the Cowboys, I'm trying to think where else I could see him going. I don't know. Maybe the Raiders. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see what
I
happens.
see that.
All right.
Yeah. I like that.
But I'd love him to the Cowboys. I really hope that happens.
Oh, God.
I'm kidding. Me, not at all. I don't know why.
Yeah, Jerry's going to be like, Dak, you have to prove yourself. If you mess up, this guy's going to come and take your spot. Just like you did Tony's.
All right.
Oh, man.
Is that all we got for tonight?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right.
You guys ready to start classes tomorrow?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
A quick shout out to the
Oh,
NBA,
of
NHL,
course.
and NFL for free league passes and NHL TV passes until April or May.
ESPN the Ocho. Let's go.
That too. Beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. See you all.